our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture and economics. To stay informed and engaged, tune into Around South Sudan and be part of the conversation that matters. Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics, culture and economics. To stay informed and engaged, tune into Around South Sudan and be part of the conversation that matters. Subscribe now and join us for the stories that connect us all. Together, let's explore the heart of South Sudan. Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building. Sudan podcast with me, Lasuba Memo. Today we are having more than a political conversation. It's just a call to reflect, to question and to demand a better path forward for South Sudan. 14 years ago, South Sudan was born with hope, pride and powerful promise, freedom, justice and a future shaped by its people. But more than a decade now, how far have we come? Has the government honored the vision it outlined in 2011? Why have national elections been postponed time and again? And what does that mean for democracy in the world's youngest nation? Now today we ask hard questions. Has Iran's transitional constitution hindered governance? Why is accountability still elusive for those in power? And what do citizens truly need now? Reform, elections, justice, or simply reliable basic services? To unpack this, I'm glad to be joined by a leading civil society activist right in the studio, Mera Kaji Lona, and she is the boss of Sudamab, one of the oldest civil society organization that has journeyed all along with the independence of South Sudan. I don't know how old it is. Could it be 14 years as old as the country? Well, she is here to give us more insight of the role of civil society through the journey of independence. And I am also glad to be joined by Kong Pal Chang, the station manager of iRadio. He has been in the media industry since before independence, and he covered the comprehensive peace agreement that culminated into the referendum and later on independence of South Sudan. And from a media perspective, having actually understood all the journey, he's here to give us his own experience and also reflection on how this country has transitioned since then. It's my pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for getting late to the show.
Your presence matters.
Yeah.
Thank you. Indeed.
Nice to see you.
See you too.
Yeah, and happy independence in advance.
Happy independence to all of us. Yeah.
Yes, let me begin with you, Mera Kaji. And yes, we are getting 14 years old. And when you look at it from a biological perspective, this is already a notorious child.
Teenager.
Or a teenager.
Yeah.
And this is the stage at which we are, whether the country has become so notorious or that requires discipline, or it is a country that has already a path to maturity. And it's my pleasure hosting you. I just want you to give your reflection. If you look back to the last 14 years and having actually played a key role as a civil society activist, how far have we come? And has it been really a soft journey or a rough one?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, I must say that, yes, 14 years as an independent country, big achievement. If you look at it in terms of how we were feeling before referendum and before independence. But how has it progressed? I think we have regressed in that during independence, and Kong will agree with me, during independence, the hope was higher than today. And when we had the independence celebration, people were optimistic. But at the moment, I would say that, using your same analogy, this is a teenager. We're just like a child who has grown to 14 years old, but we've not taught this child how to even put sugar in their cup of tea, or we've not taught this child to feed themselves. So yes, we have a country that has existed for 14 years, but the characteristics of a state and the characteristics of a nation has not developed as such. And it's alarming. It's quite deep if you really take time to unpack what that means.
Right.
Yeah.
Kong, any reflection?
Yeah. Again, I think at this time of the year, for the last 14 years, is a reflection of whenever this time comes, we always reflect back and also take a stock of what we have done and where we need to improve or to work on as a country. And if you do a census now, or you do a poll with the people, asking them how they were, like she put it, during independence and how they feel now, is totally a different thing. But because there was high expectation from the people. But we realized that, many of us realized that with this situation, challenge we are going through, we can attest that building a nation is not easy. Actually, is actually liberating or going to war is easy because you just shoot and run. You either kill or you kill. But here, it does not need gun. Building a nation does not need a gun. It needs a brain. It needs commitment. It needs a love to the country. Because what we are seeing in most in our country these days, the reason why corruption is rampant is because there's no love for the country. People, there's love for the money or for the resources. Everybody wants to enrich himself or herself with the resource of the country. And that's why so many people regret or disappointed over, like, their expectations were not met. All of us. So when you look at, when we talk about a nation building, that is not easy. Personally, when I sometimes you will wake up at night and you will ask myself, you will ask yourself that, for me, like, for example, whenever I wake up at night, and I'll ask myself when I'm going to do the farming, when I'm going to go to my village, because the beautiful life is in the village there, because you can farm, you can build, you can eat organic food, you can eat that fish in the river, you can have fresh milk, you can, like, my village is the corridor of wildlife where they pass through every year. At least I can build something for tourism. Those are the dreams that most of us have. But this thing is not.
Dreams fading away.
Yeah. So building a nation is not an easy thing, and that's why these things are happening to tell us that it's not easy to our to our leaders. And I felt sometimes, I think the independence came late. I mean, came early to me. If we could have been given another 10 years, no matter how we hate our brother from the north, really we hate. That's why we rush. In 6 years, some of us, when they say 6 years, some of us cry. 6 years so that you go for independence. When they signed the CPA, I was not happy. I said, why not 1 year? Why not 2 years? I wish I was there on the table to push for 2 years so that we go for a referendum and we get our country. But they say 6 years. I was like, but the 6 years came, and we got our country. But I felt we could have done like what Malaysian did. They went for referendum, they got their country, and then the leader find out that they lack capacity. They even don't know what is nation building and all those. They were under British. I think so, if I'm not wrong. So what happened? They just say no. They call the former colonial power. Come back. I think we need to go back to the drawing board. Independence came early for us. To me, I think we actually needed even 10 years so that we could have gone, so that we developed, we build, we teach ourselves, we reconcile. Up to now, do you think South Sudanese, they never reconcile? Because even when we were fighting the North, we committed, we killed ourselves. So a country where a lot of problems. There are so many problems, but one of the problems why we are not progressing today, this lack of, we never reconcile
the past wrongs.
Yes.
And when you mentioned about corruption, it reminded me of the 4 billion that U.S. government injected into the country. And you also reminded me of the Dura saga, where 72 officials were named, and the president asked them to return the money that have been stolen, and he would not do anything to them. So isn't that where we actually went wrong? You talked about we started with love for money because
actually on the wrong foot.
Yes. So
I just maybe if I can add there, my friend, if sometime we feel like if president can give me that seat, I can do ABCD. If you can get a chance, I wish the president can have a forum with the journalists and actually tell us what is in his mind or what he goes through on daily basis as somebody managing a country where this want to eat. He said it himself. If he himself knew, he knows there are those who just want to. He talk about corruption. He knows there's too much corruption. The other day he talked about, even Amir was surprised. He was telling the bank official, central bank official, at 10%. I said, what? Even him, he knows 10%. He said, you guys stop that. So he's well informed. But what he's going through, how to address this, maybe we don't know. I wish he can have a forum with the media. He can tell us, guys, you know what I'm going through? Hell. Because managing a country is not easy. Maybe if you put yourself into his shoes, maybe we'll feel the heat. But some of us feel, I can do it this way. I can do, if I were the one, I can fire or can do what, I can build road, I can bring the plane. People are talking about not having a private jet. I can buy a private jet for me as the president. You know, I can. Yeah. Those things. You see?
Yes.
No, yeah. I think we have deeper issues. And as Kong was speaking and saying that perhaps we would have had 10 years, I am saying we have regressed. And how have we regressed? We have regressed in that our behavior is worse today than 14 years ago. So if we spent 10 years and we came with this worst behavior, we would not even have gotten independence. So the question is, why are we behaving like this? Why is South Sudan behaving like this? And I like what Kong has said, that if President would talk to media and express his predicament. But I think he even doesn't have to explain. We know his predicament. And why, rather the question is, those who sit in public offices, including the president, I should not be mistaken to take this as a lobby. It's not a lobby. There's so many South Sudanese who are not in the system. They understand what could be the challenge. They have the technical expertise, but they're not being involved. Simple. Take, for example, the money you talked about. The president said that return, yeah? And left it there. technically speaking, that statement has no impact. Because how is return? Return requires a procedure. That procedure has not been prescribed. So even those who took the money, even if there are those who want to return, they're asking themselves, how do we return it? We know that the transit fee to Sudan, South Sudan had paid excess. And that money was renegotiated and the money was brought back. But because the procedure is not clear, the Minister of Petroleum was in the forefront. They negotiated that money. But today, if you ask them, where is that money? Because the procedure was not clear, that money has gone into a black hole somewhere in the middle. So one of our biggest problems is we don't have a system, Kwang. And I usually tell people that, even me, Lorna, today if the president says, Lorna, come step into my office, and if there are few things that have not changed, either I'll be worse than him or just exactly like him. So in other words, we need to build a system. We have not built a system. And it's unfortunate that 14 years down the lane, when we got independence, dollar was at how much was it?
250
250 pounds.
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah, 1 to 2.
Right now, the ratio is what? 1 to 6,000. And in that 1 to 6,000, actually this afternoon I was having a conversation with colleagues. I was asking them, yes, we're independent. But in this day and era, in our prime age, if somebody asks for 5,000 from you, you think, yeah? But in other words, 5,000 is less than $1.
Correct.
So able-bodied independent individuals like us in other countries would not think about a dollar. They think about big things. But here we are thinking about $1. And even that dollar, I don't know how many people can get it. You know. So South Sudan is in a very bad situation.
Thinking about to eat the next day.
Yes, and people talk about the indicator of poverty as people living under $1, less than $1 a day, or we usually talk about people are not able to afford 3 meals a day. In this modern day, that's an issue. Yeah? We need a different indicator for South Sudan. I was told that you're talking about 3 meals a day. We actually talk about 3 meals a week. And I got a bit curious, and I asked the colleague who was saying that, and the colleague went deeper to tell me that, you know, when we say 3 meals a day, we mean proper meal. First of all, majority have not been having breakfast in this country. Number 2, people were living on 1 meal a day. But nowadays, some people cannot afford that. They live on cassava, sweet potatoes, and small things. And if they don't get a meal, that's gone. And some of them, the following day, they get a meal. It's only for children. The parent would eat that cassava and full, and that's it. So people are basically living on snacks for a meal. South Sudan can, you know, if that is more than 50% of the population, that means we're already branding our country to be a country that have people living on 3 meals a week. It's a shame.
The African Development Bank data indicated 96% of the population are living below poverty line.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And now another report from IMF also indicated that South Sudanese citizens' position per capita is less than 70 cents, not $100.
Yeah. And when you talk about poverty, we more often than not make the mistake to think that poverty is not having a vehicle, not having water, not having what. No. The fact that your expensive vehicle is riding on Maram Road, you are poor. The fact that you have your money and you live in a neighborhood where everybody around you cannot afford to pay for electricity, you're the only one who is paying for electricity, you're actually very poor because you're living in a poor environment. So in other words, South Sudanese, even those who have looted this money, they should not think that when they go to other people's country and they pay for 5-star hotels, they're rich. They're just like poor men and women who should have used their money better, they come to use their money in an expensive neighborhood in another country.
Sense of dignity.
No sense of dignity. When they sit in those hotel rooms, and if they remember my voice, they should remember that Lorna thinks they are all very poor people in expensive neighborhoods. Yeah.
Yes. Talking about these challenges from where we started, corruption, and also you mentioning poor system, what comes to my mind is the way the constitution, the transitional constitution was drafted. I tend to think maybe the constitution was rushed and it never actually sought the participation of the citizens.
Yes.
So it was crafted by a few individuals because everything had to be done to confirm the independence of South Sudan.
Yeah.
And do you think this, to some extent, has had impact on the way the country is being governed?
Yes. Actually, this is a very interesting question, and it's something that many people don't want to pay attention to. But I am an enthusiast of participatory governance. And when you look at what happened with the constitution, yes, the process was rushed. And the same to RRCs. Basically, these documents are termed as elite bargain documents, elite negotiated documents. They cannot, and I stand to be corrected, the documents cannot have legitimacy. The document cannot connect to people unless people are involved. So the more we delay the constitution making process, we are just making the situation worse. And once there's a constitution developed through a process, through elite negotiated kind of process, you realize that people are completely detached. So those who use the document to govern the country, they think they're governing the people, but they're actually just running on their own, they're not governing. So the concept of governance in this country has also failed, but we are not acknowledging that it has failed. And as we reflect 14 years down the lane, I think 14 years as an independent state, we should be able to start thinking of asking the right questions internally and think on how best can we develop mechanisms for bridging the gaps and closing those gaps that exist, because nobody is going to do it for us. Yeah, it can only get worse.
Yes. Yes,
if we talk about the 14 years of independence, and if you start from the time we immediately got our independence, it took only our leaders 2 years
to fight.
And what happened, instead of them focusing on building the nation, because this disagreement started with the issue of election is coming, who is going to stand, and all those in the party and all those things. And the SPLM started it without,
So the SPLM started it.
It's SPLM actually. All these problems is SPLM.
True.
And I would, I don't know why they are always proud of being part of this process, but forgetting that completing it peacefully and also handing power over, because SPLM, nobody elected them. Nobody. It's only during that time when we elected the regional, when Sudan was one. But South Sudan as a country has not elected any one of them.
Yeah.
We were Sudan, and those, they cannot use that legitimacy. That was Sudanese legitimacy, not South Sudanese legitimacy. So this is the question. But I see many of them traveling to foreign countries so that they learn. But when they come back, they don't implement that. I don't know why. Because, one day I was chatting with a friend from regional country, from our neighboring country. And I tried to talk to him about our country. And then say, how do you see us? We have a country called South Sudan. We are independent. He said, my friend, you guys, you are just dreaming.
Yes.
You have not yet reached there. You just have the name, the country, but a nation, you have not yet gone there.
Yeah.
You are far, far, far.
Yeah.
We are not a nation state.
Because you don't have your own security. No, you cannot even defend yourself from any country if you are attacked. Your resource belong to different countries. They don't belong to you. You cannot even hold your leaders accountable. You don't even have leaders whom you elected. Okay? You don't have roads. Okay? So many things. Your health. Nobody care about your health. Medicine. People are dying because of lack of food. A nation is a nation that can feed itself, secure itself, okay, and protect itself, and also provide security for its citizen, where in a united country where you unite your community, not divided. But the way we are, he says, is you are far, far away from calling yourself a nation.
Yeah.
Far, far away. You are still dreaming to be a nation. You are still in the dream. This is what he told me because of what is happening.
Yeah.
And when you see our leaders, most of them, the V8 they are driving on the road, okay?
Yeah.
They think they belong to them. They have not even paid a cent. So they are like any other poor South Sudanese because they did not work
for it.
Yeah. These are the resources of South Sudanese. This oil money. This oil money, and this oil money does not belong to them. It belongs to all the South Sudanese. If they think, because when you are driving your Primo on the road, they come with their V8. You see, they try to even hit you, make sure that you open way for it. Those cars are not even this house. Those houses are built by Joseph Lago Abelalier. Those are government house. They are not their house. If you ask somebody to go to his house, maybe they have, but they are not theirs. All of us are poor. You know, our founding father or liberator, Dr. John Garang, he said very clear, there is no nation that can be rich when its citizens are poor.
True. Yeah.
Okay? But our people are not getting this. And why our people are making noise? Even I hear them, the leaders making noise, our people, the citizens are making noise, we won election, because they realize these leaders, they cannot hold them accountable because they did not elect them. They need leaders whom they will give a legitimacy so that when they go to the parliament, when they become ministers, they are questioned. They are held accountable. But these leaders we have now, this product of peace agreement, whatever, they are not our leaders. They are leaders of peace agreement. And even if they talk about election, I don't think they mean it. I see some of them making noise. We are going for election. I don't think they mean it.
And you don't see signs of
they don't mean it. They don't mean
election.
it. So I think it's a time for our leaders to listen to, because I feel like the expectation of South Sudanese from independence is not yet
met.
And so for us to realize that we need to go for election, and then we start questioning our leaders. If there is any attack on the road, we will question that minister, why are you not providing security? If you are not, and then another person can come.
Right, thank you. And just on the question of accountability, and you did mention about elite documents, whether it's the constitution or it is the peace agreement or any other document. Would you think this is a reason for impunity and also lack of transparency and accountability?
Yeah, it's actually reason for impunity because majority don't even know what is there for them. And when you talk about impunity, maybe you, me, Kwang know what we mean, but majority don't know. You see, until you know that you know you're right, then you'll talk about impunity because it's connected to violation and outright violation and disregard to your right. But these people don't know, and that's why there is no demand. And one of the things that is happening in this country is the citizens have been kept perpetually in darkness, and that gives room for the looting to go on, for the corruption to go on, for everything to go on. And I think Kwang raised a very important aspect of, are we a state? Are we a nation state? Are we being seen like that by our neighbors? I think no. Our neighbors are seeing us as a joke. because they know what it means.
Yeah.
So now the fear is I just hope they don't develop other interest that I don't want to pronounce. But we are a joke because we are not doing what we need to do as a state. And take, for example, the question of security. Again, I would want to say that even the head of security in this country is not secure. I stand to be corrected, but we are putting so much money into security. Why? Because the way security is perceived in this country is completely wrong compared to the real concept of security. Like, for example, security is a public good, that you can never be selfish with it.
True.
And I am seeing, forgive me, I will say this, I am seeing convoys becoming bigger and bigger in this country. Why? The paranoia is because whoever is being protected by that convoy feels not secure. So that means we need to rethink the concept of security. If the likes of ordinary people like Lorna, whoever, are not having security, even if you boost your security in the center as the head or as who, you're doing something else. It's not security.
But that comfort is not there.
Yeah, the comfort is not there because you're constantly fearing the poor that are out there, the poor who created the poor. You created the poor. So in other words, those who are driving the system, they are actually trying to confirm this thing that I usually say, that sometimes I think South Sudan leadership has short memory and short vision. Short memory in that quickly forgetting where we've come from. Because if you listen to the sentiments when CPA was being negotiated, the SPLM and the Southerners by then were saying exactly that we don't want to be in the current state of today, South Sudan of today. But now they have quickly forgotten and they're facilitating that which they don't want around them. And it's consuming and engulfing and eating space, eating oxygen from around them. Eventually it will eat everybody. So eventually, if nothing is done, these V8s that you see on the streets, they will be packed. Because even whoever is in those V8s, you see, we started having insecurity on the road. It's a sign of poverty and negligence. It's a sign of legitimacy being challenged. So if more of that is happening, fuel will not be coming, right? And if fuel doesn't come, then the V8s will have no fuel. And if the rest of us, the ordinary people, are not buying this fuel in our generators, in our motorbikes, in our little machines that need fuel, the fuel companies will start asking themselves, is the market still there? Because the market is not V8. The market is us, the people. But now people are not having power to purchase. So the companies will start pulling out. And what is happening? Poverty is coming to V8. You will have V8 as a vehicle, but you have no fuel to put in that V8. You will pack V8 and you will walk. And that has never happened in a country that got independence in this modern day and era. That will be spectacular failure. The question is, why are we getting there? Why are we taking ourselves there? I think we're taking ourselves there because the decisions being taken for this country, they are not all very patriotic. Because a patriotic decision looks at the bigger picture of the country, not individual. So if security is being offered from a patriotic perspective, it's not going to be only security for few people. If economy is to be for everybody, you'll realize that the oil money, to be honest, the amount of money that has come from international oil market for South Sudan, we would not be having schools under trees. We will not be having hospitals that are not able to operate, to offer some services. We would be very far. We would not be having rough roads inside Juba to an extent that even the short tarmac, the beauty cannot be seen. People are not asking themselves, why is it that, there are some tarmac roads in Juba, they look like they're disappearing. Why are they disappearing? The soil. And where does the soil come from? The soil comes from the vicinity, because those who are coming from their houses, they constantly bring soil to the road. Because in our areas, exactly, lack of drainage. The only area that is well tarmacked is Amarat. Not even all. So imagine the short tarmac. Those are the only people whose vehicles leave their compound without picking mud and go back, if they have not come to visit relatives in the neighborhood. But the rest of us who live in the neighborhood, every time you leave your road, you're transporting soil to the tarmac road. So the tarmac road is disappearing. It's quite sad.
So yeah, maybe I can add something on. Some time back, immediately after we got our independence, and we went for, I think during I think before that, before independence, around 2008 or 7, when Kenya was going for election. We went as election observers, as a journalist, and during one of the training, or as an election observer, one of the guy the consultant, is from French, and he told us that he actually trained SPLM leaders, and he said, what I told them, he said. He used example of French Revolution. He say similarity of SPLA and French Revolution. He say because yes, you stood up for your people, finally your people went and vote for independence. That is SPLM. That was initiated that with the South Sudanese, but SPLM carrying the flag. Okay? He told them, now you are going for election. It will not be business as usual.
Yeah.
You, the liberators, you are getting old. And there's no liberator who can build. You say, what happened in France during French Revolution? Then the young men who went to school, the engineers, all the brain, went to French, to these elders who led the French Revolution, and went and told these guys, look guys, the time for revolution has gone. So thank you so much for the liberation, for the revolution. Thank you. But it's time for you to go home. We are the one to take it from here. The French, the country need engineers, the country need this and this and this and this. And us, we are the one to lead. So, what happened? He said the graph. He told the SPLM, when the time for liberation has gone, is a time for services.
True.
South Sudanese will just say thank you for being for liberating the country. But this time is time for the service delivery. We want medicine. We want roads.
True.
We want food, agriculture, business, okay, security, conventional army, a national army, all those things need to be done. But a liberator, you as a liberator, you will not do it. So what happened? The graph of support will drop.
Yeah.
And the graph of demand, the support for SPLM will drop. They will just recognize you as part of liberation. But the graph for service delivery, for demand, will go up. So for you to strategize, refocus the mind of liberation to the mind of service delivery.
True.
If you don't do that, if election come, SPLM will be thrown out through the window and another party will come. So it's helping the SPLM to strategize.
But so did they?
This is, if you are informed that way, what were you thinking? You want to grab power by force? Like if election come, you think you can, no, maybe few. Like we went for election. How many independent candidates were voted? No matter how much you try. In my county, most of them were independent. Because people were demanding, okay, thank you, SPLM. But don't give us, because the SPLM made a mistake forcing unpopular candidate on people. People on the grassroots knows who can give serves to them? Which leader is with them?
Yeah.
Which leader understand their problem? But SPLM came and said because he was a liberator, let him be the flag bearer. They were thrown out during a election. Most of the guys
you were a jail
were in,
well, okay.
no, that time I was still a journalist, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say here, the president himself, I mean, if the SPLM leaders can listen, Salva Kiir was opening up. The president was opening up recently. Say, guys, if we go for the ballot, we cannot make it. SPLM cannot make it. He was open to them. So let us reform our party. But still they are the one holding the resources. They have the money now. They have the money. They have the money, the oil money. They should fix the suffering. People are suffering. People are dying on daily basis. How many children are on the road? Andruga, one of the SPLM, he said it. These children will come and knock at the window. Give me, give me. The children of, I think these are grandchildren of liberators.
True.
Grandchildren of liberators, not their children.
True.
Their children are the children of liberators, the heroes who died during the war. Their children now, the grandchildren, are the one now on the street begging. Give me, and you cannot roll down your window to give them whatever.
Right.
You look at them.
Right. Mary Kaji, I know you're pressed by time, and maybe to wrap up this, I would like you to also take us through. I know he did say that 2 years after independence, the country plunged into violence, and we had 2 peace agreements. One in 2015 collapsed, and 2018, I don't know how to define it, whether it is, because it is sensitive. For other parties, it may be still alive. And we have had this debate. The agreement is not dead; it's still alive. But what we know, of course, it is faced with challenges. In the meantime, following the incident that happened in Nasir, and then the subsequent arrest of house arrest of key leader and some senior opposition leaders, and the peace agreement was seen as a pathway for the country to realize peace and stability, but now it is faced with a deadlock. So what is your reflection here? Because the country has faced enormous challenges since its independence, and people, you have said, people need to see this country move forward. People need to see something change. So in anticipating beyond the 14 years, so what is your reflection? How do we go forward?
Well, thank you very much. I will draw my reflection from two things. One, and this is very close. This is just very close, because I would like to draw my reflection from something a participant told me in a training that I concluded yesterday. We were talking about conflict resolution, conflict analysis, and mediation, and we came to realization that RS is an instrument for conflict management. So we are yet to get an instrument for resolving our conflicts. And on the other side, that resolution also shows the characteristics of how we do things. But from what my colleague is saying, you see, it's also pointing out that there are things that we've not addressed as a nation. And with that, I think what I would say is we are at a very difficult state as a country. Moving forward, we need to be able to ask ourselves the hard questions. What are the things that have happened? And Kwang brought it out clearly. We killed ourselves in the process. And you hear it, right? Again, and this maybe comes to the media, if you can do a favor to this country, there are confessions out in the media that political leaders in this country have made. What can we do with those confessions? One of the confessions, actually 3. One, there's a confession from Mama Rebecca. Right now it has resurfaced in the media again. I don't know if you've come across it. And she was saying she feels very sad. And she is really sorry that they have led the country, they have failed the country. Kolmanyang did the same. Daniel Awet, you're saying, has done the same. Makwei said, late Henry Odua said, Paganamum said it. The question, my reflection now is, if a group have said they have failed and they are very sorry, we need to appreciate them. That is commendable, because people don't rarely, great people accept their failures. And we want to say they have done very well. But it doesn't end there. Great people allow other people to correct their failures, because you cannot fail and think you are the ones to put it right. All these people who have said they failed, those ones who are there. And I think even sometimes when you hear the president speak, he speaks from that point. So my appeal to them is, we may not have an institution to have election, a robust, realistic election right now, but let's think about how best we can do that. And how best can we think of that? One is, we need to have a national conversation. And I should not be taken out of proportion, because I know in this country there are few people who don't think, but they wait for ideas. The moment an idea is floated, they take that idea, they run with it, they implement it wrongly, and they crash and bruise their nose. One of such example is, if you look at the economic conference which was held, what came out of that conference? I want to believe that the person who perceived that, who came up with that concept, actually may not, you can clearly see the implementation looks like this thing would have been something good, but it's implemented wrongly. I think there needs to be a national conversation on how we can design a national discourse that will help us unravel some of these things. For me, that is the only way South Sudan can move out of here. Whether we support President Kiir to be in office, whether we get a new person to come in the office, whether we have elections today or tomorrow, if we don't do that, we will not be able to get ourselves out of this problem. Because what is ailing us is basically the fact that we are implementing governance activities in a very disorganized way. And that's what political scientists would talk about, political turmoil. It's basically an upheaval. It's a confusion. We're in a total confusion that need to be acknowledged, and a call need to be put out there. And we need to be very genuine, because sometimes I even fear now talking, because what I'm saying now, you'll hear that there's a conference being organized. But how is it being organized? People will start looking for their nephews, their nieces, their whoever, who are just coming to, forgive my language, but to occupy space, model around, but not sit down to do really proper thinking in a very technical and realistic way. Can we find a way for South Sudanese to build our country? And that's, the neighbors are laughing at us because their graduates do technical work.
The French Revolution we can learn.
Exactly. their technocrats do technical work. But we have technocrats in this country who cannot write. How technical is that? I was seeing a video of somebody who was saying he's a graduate from School of Economics, specialization economics, and that. And when I saw, yes, and when I saw that thing, I was like, oh my goodness, how did he even arrive to have the belief that he is a graduate? The institution that made him a graduate actually has caused damage to him and to the country. Yeah.
Just to pick from where you are, I don't know how much time we have. I would even love to extend this conversation because to pick it where you, I think you say a good thing about the RSS, that you guys now discover it's not a conflict resolution, but it's a conflict management.
Tool, yeah.
I think that is the right, because because it's not resolving any problem,
no.
but it's just
cushioning.
It's managing,
causing the conflict. Like
yeah.
It keep us without much problem. It's like the war is stopped.
But the underlying issues are still.
Yeah, but what I have two things to say is, I think it's time for South Sudanese leaders to be honest, because I think they are not honest.
Yeah.
In 2016, you chase away your peace partner.
Yeah.
Then you came up with another model,
Yeah.
replacing your peace partner with their own, like the case of SPLM.
Yeah.
The other day I say what was happening with the Stephen Parr is a model of 2016.
Yeah.
Why do you keep going around with the same thing?
Yeah.
Why? Be honest, it did not work. Either you keep reunited and you implement peace with yourself. Don't confuse the parties.
Yeah.
Why do you go around the same thing you do? Are you not tired? Even people will look at you like, why are you doing the same thing? You tested it, it did not work.
Yeah.
Okay? That's one thing. Keeping going around, it won't work. It just wasting our time. The other thing is, I think South Sudanese, you talk about national, how do you call it?
Nation building?
Conversation.
National conversation, yeah.
Yeah, I call it, there's no need for us to go back to national conversation because national dialogue, no matter how some parties call it monologue,
Yeah.
national dialogue was a vote of no confidence to these leaders.
True.
People spoke.
Yeah. True.
People spoke, they say, what is their problem in South Sudan?
Yeah.
Issue of land, tribalism, blah, blah, blah. And what has happened? One of the resolution, we don't need two leaders. Let them take us to election, let them go home, if they cannot. So national dialogue is a blueprint we can use as... me, I don't buy in the imported democracy, sincerely. This Western democracy to a people, a country that is like see themselves tribalists, a tribal country, if I can put it that way. We are tribalists. Even we see now in South Sudan, we are legend to our tribe. Imagine, this community university graduate. How you go to university, you are still talking about your community.
I know, right?
You are for the country. You'll go to run and save the country. You still go back to your village. That is then we are not normal. So you see, I met one of the recently I met one of the lecturer, and he said our education system is dead because he say he lecture, he give people F, and then
you
after
see them
some
in
time,
the next level.
He saw the people, he see them graduating. He went to the dean. What happened to people who we didn't see them taking supplementary? He could not be, he said he could not get an answer.
Yeah, yeah.
But as somebody who got F, why do you also buy your way?
Yeah.
You are not serious also.
Yeah.
So I think too much dishonesty.
Yeah.
South Sudanese are not really. Why don't you tell yourself, I have to do it myself, the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to do my. Going to university is just a name.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Do you have it here?
That's the thing.
Are you competent? Is that how the country can be led? So I will conclude that I will see national dialogue or national conversation is the best, and I will ask our leader going visiting China. These days people go to China. What is relevant to us in China? China is only own, they have our oil. Finish. That is our relationship with them. What culture do we have?
Yeah.
Why don't you just go here to Uganda if you want to learn? Why don't you just go to Somalia?
Yeah.
The system of governance in Somalia, especially Somaliland, is they are governed by tribal leader or whatever leaders. Leaders are involved. The clan, they are involved in decision making. When government take decision, they are involved. They talk about if there's a modality we can design for ourselves, our South Sudanese, that we can, if it means the presidency can be rotated, Senator Kalim, even every year or every 2 years, go to Kalim Shele Malakal. Next 2 years goes to Wow. Next 2 years go to this. If that is the only, if that system can help us, why do we go for democracy that is not helping people? Because when you say democracy mean majority. Democracy mean majority. What majority say is democracy. But what about the small tribe at the border of Ethiopia? Will they not have voices? Somebody came with House of Nationality. House of Nationality, where all the community are supposed to be involved. This morning you had a student from India complaining about all the scholarships were given to one community. Is that the country you want to lead?
Good question.
You want that community to be the one learning? You don't want others to go to school, to be part? Do we really love ourselves? We found ourselves in South Sudan. We did not choose.
Yeah.
So why do we segregate ourselves? So I think in this national conversation, we need to ask ourselves, what kind of government, forget about democracy, this Western democracy. We should develop our own system of government where everybody can be happy, because democracy cannot help us. Because if this one lose election...
Our traditional system had democracy.
Yes. It had, but it's, maybe you can call it democracy or whatever, or
democracy
inclusive,
is essential.
Inclusivity or whatever.
Democracy is essential.
We can.
But only we have to define the nature of democracy.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe just to come in on this, I think we are having a problem. Nobody has said copy and paste. And if you look at democracy, it's the rule of the people, by the people, for the people. And is that what we are doing? We're not doing that. Number two is that who told us to copy and paste? It's our laziness. We've proven that we are very lazy to copy, and that's why we're just copying and pasting. And picking on what Kwang has said, I think the message is, let us stop copy and paste. Because copy and paste actually makes fool of ourselves. But I want to take it back to the question of corruption that we spoke earlier. I think still, in line with the failure of the country, where the country has failed this miserably, and the statements that the leaders have been saying, I think what they are doing now is corruption. Because a decent thing to do is to say we have failed. They have not finished that statement. And let me finish it for them. We have failed, and we don't know how to do it any better. In about 6 months' time, we want to leave and go home. So the masses should prepare their people to come and take over from here. We will respect them with the statement they have made. But right now, the more they make that statement and they stay, they don't resign, they don't give us room, that they don't give us indication that they're leaving, we are asking them, if you have failed, what are you still doing there? And disrespect is coming in. That is unfortunate, and I think that need to be addressed as we move forward with the conversation in the country.
Let me be also play the role of devil advocacy, if you have time. Huh?
Yes, proceed.
Lorna, maybe also there is also a voice there. Maybe you guys also. I mean, when I say you guys, now
the civil society.
When you talk about civil society, specifically women, our women in leadership, that when you say we need to do this, and like for example, there was a question from this women conference, and I understand that a young lady raised a question of, you are leaders. I'm just picking it from where you said the leaders said we have wrong, we have not done well, so in the next 6 months maybe you can come. But now that conversation, they don't have it. And how do you make them understand? Because now, for example, this lady asked this question, that why are you not preparing us, we young ladies, to take your place, because you will not be there. And then the response was so harsh that if you have not joined the politics, don't say you must have joined the politics. You must have a party. This thing, we get it through party and all this. So these are some of the things that maybe we need in those national conversations.
And that statement, I would say it's a statement of ignorance. Because there's this general thing that is being said in this country, that if you want to be in government, get to a party. If you want to do this, get to a party. It's absurd. It's out of ignorance, because governance is not only party. Those who are saying that are seeing it from one side. The lens is skewed towards one side. But if they are seeing it in a very realistic and in a comprehensive way, from point of knowledge. Forgive me to say that due to lack of appropriate language. From point of knowledge, they would know that there is politics and there is the technicality of the work. The technicality of the work cannot be done through politics. And there is freedom of choice. There are people who have chosen not to go into the parties. And I will say this for free, for all the parties in this country, and for my sake. I have been told severally, and sometimes some of them sit with me on panel and tell me that, Lorna, why don't you guys join party if you want to do this? And my answer to them is that all these your parties are not based on ideology. Personally, I would want to engage in politics that is based on ideology. But this politics this politics of being fanatics, I would say, following one person, just Kwang is our leader, Kwang is a... No, that's not politics. What are you delivering to people with that politics? I'm not hearing that. If there's a party that speaks that, then at least I can pay attention and listen to such a
Following
party.
rather than also encouraging what we call internal competition.
Exactly, yeah. So there has to be space, and the space need to be progressive, but not waiting for one person and perpetually think that this one person must be the leader of this party until God decides that they go, then another leader will emerge.
2 minutes each, maybe your
Maybe
message.
1 minute,
1 minute as
yeah.
the country now ushers in its 14th birthday. So what is your message to our viewers?
Well, my message to the viewers is that nation building is a responsibility of everybody, and it's a clear demonstration of patriotism. We have to build our nation. And nation building is not something from far. It's the fact that you're able to correct your neighbor, to correct yourself, and to correct your own, not to destroy the country. But on the other side, I would say that where South Sudan is right now, I hope if we don't do anything different, when we sit here next time to talk about 15th year of South Sudan, it might be worse. And I hope we don't go that direction. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the 14 years that we've been as a country is for those who are looking at things, how they fall, to learn from those leaders that if tomorrow, even in your neighborhood where you are, don't follow those leaders. You be a different person. Do things differently. If tribalism is a problem in South Sudan, and you know it's a problem, don't follow those leaders who are using tribalism card to stay in power. Use different way. Love your neighbor. We are one people, and that's the only way as a country we will move forward, because no country can move forward without its citizens embracing themselves, loving each one another.
Wow, what an insight, Kwang Palchang, and what an insight, Marakaje Lorna. It's been my honor having you and having these in-depth discussions and in-depth reflections on our 14-year journey from 2011. I have been truly grateful to have you today, and we look forward to hosting you on different discussions. And Kwang Palchang, you were very aggressive today, and you really want to say that. That was really interesting. And dear viewer, I would like to tell you that we have come to the end of this podcast, and this is a weekly program that comes to you every Friday. And please, I'm so honored to have you glued to our live streaming, and I want to recognize Darlington Moses and Moses Awan for streaming this live. From me to you, do you have a lovely weekend, and also happy independence come 14th birthday and ahead of the day. So have a lovely Sunday as we continue to bring you more of this edition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Around South Sudan. You go to podcast for the stories that shape our nation. Each week we explore the most impactful headlines that are shaping the narrative in South Sudan. We delve into issues related to national development, peace building, politics,